Okay. Hey everyone, good morning from Arizona and welcome to the BaZi Gratitude Series number 9. Today we're going to be talking about Neurolinguistic Programming, or NLP, with Jessica Dufour. And Jessica is a master NLP practitioner and family constellation facilitator out in San Francisco, California. And she's also a former student of mine. So I'm super duper excited to talk about this subject because I want you to teach me about the brain. Here we go. We're kind of changing roles a little bit. So before we get started, can you just share a little bit about what is NLP and how did you get started on this journey?
Sure. Well, NLP, like you said, stands for Neurolinguistic Programming, and it's really the study of the structure of the human experience. And so what it does is it uses communication, so the words that we use to talk to one another, to rewire the brain so that we can have more of what we would like in our life and less of what we would not like to have. And this is really about how experience is structured. So what it does is NLP is it's a toolbox for communication that allows us to expand our perception. It allows us to change our behavior. It allows us to refine our capability. It allows us to revise our beliefs. It allows us to update our identity. And it also allows us to become more in rapport with ourselves internally, and we can have more rapport with others. And primarily what it does is it really allows us to change the way we interpret the world. So when something happens, because humans are meaning-making machines, right? Something happens, we make meaning out of it. Like somebody looks at you in a certain way, oh, it must mean this, right?
Yeah.
So it allows us, or somebody says something in a certain tone, and we read into it. And it's like, oh, this must mean this about me. So what it does is it allows us to change what's going off in the brain, like at this automatic rate, like so quickly, it's hard to even capture it consciously for ourselves. So it allows us to revise that so that doesn't need to mean that about us, like at a quick instant, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's so fascinating. I met you many, many years ago, back when I was teaching in San Francisco, and you were sort of in your journey in learning many, many different things. I think you were still working with Google or something like this.
Yeah,
and I met you at a point when you were in the midst of expanding and learning more about self and learning more about energy and the way that we are with each other and in the world. Can you just share with us a little bit how you got interested in NLP and sort of what was your journey like?
Oh, definitely. When I was introduced to The Secret like years ago when it first came out. And when I found that, I guess it's like a documentary, when I found that, it completely made me realize like, oh shit, I'm the one creating the life that I have. And I didn't like the life that I had, I'll be honest with you. Dating the wrong type of men over and over again. My friends were kind of not the best people towards me. And then I was like, okay, I have the ability to consciously create the life that I want. So I was doing it. I had vision boards. I was like telling myself positive mantras. I was doing all these things, but like it wasn't changing on a deep level. Like I kept dating the same kind of people. I kept attracting the same kind of friends, and it wasn't in alignment with what I consciously wanted. So I was looking, then I heard somewhere, it was on YouTube or something, how the subconscious mind is really the driving force behind our, how life manifests for us, how we perceive life. And I was like, okay, I want to learn more about the subconscious mind. And then I was like, I was into feng shui, and how does our environment communicate to our subconscious mind? And I started reading all these books on feng shui, and then I found you and took your course, and I was like, oh my God, like we can change our environment, and that affects us on an unconscious energetic level, right? And then I was like, okay, what are the other aspects of the mind? And so when I learned that I could change the structure of my subconscious mind and then change my reality and what I was manifesting, I was like, oh my God, this is the secret that the secret forgot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're like, ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
I get it now.
Yeah. And so, and when I started doing this type of work and getting sessions myself, I started noticing huge shifts. Like the men I started dating, it didn't go from like I did one session and then all of a sudden I'm dating the man that I want to be with. It's like I did a session, the guy, started changing a little bit. And then, it didn't work out. I did another session, the guy changed even more. And it's like the type of men I was attracted to and attracting totally shifted. I mean, but this took years of working on myself.
Right.
It wasn't like overnight. I got to preface this by saying like, it takes time to go through the layers of stuff that we were programmed with and reprogram that in a way that's in alignment with our life, what we have in our life, so that we can have a more stable, so it can be more stabilized. Because sometimes when you can get if you get what you want right away, it can be very destabilizing for your identity. You might lose your job right away. Your marriage might end. It's like things come with a cost. So you want to have the transition be ecologically sound with what it is you want in your life, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Of course, Tony Robbins is, a well-known motivational speaker, and he's also known to have studied NLP himself and utilized several of the techniques in his sort of empowerment, training, coaching programs. There is so much correlation. When I think of NLP, which I don't know that it gets enough exposure, because it really touches on so many things, from the brain, how our brain actually anatomically processes information, how it accesses memories and where our behaviors and thoughts are stored, to more like about the conscious level, and also our connection from our past in terms of our family upbringing, some of the ancestral biases, right? If we have money issues today, maybe it's because our mothers or fathers were always living in a place of lack. And so that's kind of translated to us from an energetics perspective and how we show up in life. And so you can start to see that in many different facets, right? How we show up in relationships, in our family, and with ourselves. There's a lot of techniques, obviously, in NLP. Can you just speak to us a little bit about some of those techniques? I know it's a lot more complicated, that you can share with our viewers.
Yeah. So just to make one distinction, there's the conventional NLP toolkit, which I'll get into with these techniques. The conventional NLP toolkit, like you go do an NLP class, you'll get like this, this is kind of like, you'll get this box full of all these little recipe indexes for like, oh, you want to get rid of a phobia. Okay, I'll pull out the fast phobia fix, put that back in. Oh, you want to change what something meant in the past? Oh, let's get changing personal history out and do that technique. I'll put it back. Oh, you want to create a new behavior, like going to the gym more often. Oh, let me pull out this new behavior generator and we'll go through this technique. So more conventional NLP, you'll have like these techniques that are kind of categorized like that. Yeah. With transformational NLP, we utilize these techniques, but what we're also looking at is like I do transformational NLP, and this is an extension of your conventional NLP. And what I look at as a practitioner is, when I'm working with a client, what is their present unwanted experience? So when somebody comes to me, it's because their current experience is something they don't want. It could be like, I keep dating the wrong type of men. The men that I'm attracted to are alcoholics. That was my experience. Like I was attracted to men that, drank a little too much or did, substances that kind of got out of hand. And it's what my brain was wired to survive. And I'll get into that in a second. So I understand the structure of their unwanted experience. And then I understand, what is it that they want? How do they want their experience, the reality, to be different? And I start to notice how they're both different. And then what I look at is in the brain, when they go to reach for their desired state, something happens in the programming in their brain that interjects this. It's almost like a past experience of what happened in the past. And the brain, the reptilian brain back here, a critter brain or creature brain, however you want to call it, has all these programs that have been coded in there and stored. And this brain, its main job is to keep you safe. So when we have a traumatic experience in our past, the brain, and because you survived it, because you're here today, you survived that traumatic experience, the brain records it as, oh, because we survived that, we should keep having that happen because we know we can survive it. Oh, mom was an alcoholic. You can survive that as it relates to love. Let's go out and find men that are alcoholics too. We got that. We've got that one down. We're going to keep us alive. So that's what the brain is doing. And it's doing a fantastic job at keeping you safe. So there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your brain. It's just that if you would like to have a different desired experience, that's where we start to go in and understand what's currently going on, what's their desired state, and what happened back when they were little that keeps this unwanted present experience in place.
Mm.
So that's what I'm looking for, is like, how can we undistort what happened? How can we bring more awareness to what happened so that it doesn't have to get so distorted?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And you're right. It's not something that can be,
you can't do a cookie cutter
overnight.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no cookie cutter. And, you know, I feel that even in NLP, as it relates to traditional feng shui, there's a lot of misconceptions, and we are such a society of, you know, do it yourself. We want quick fixes. We want it happen yesterday. And so we neglect the important step of the work that we need to put in order to reprogram a lot of the old behaviors and the patterns that has been a big part of our life. So let's talk a little bit about your business.
There's one thing I wanted to add to that is the other thing that's amazing about transformational NLP is it takes into account what might you lose that you value when you have this desired outcome. Whereas in my understanding, the conventional NLP doesn't really take that into account. So sometimes changes won't last if you don't understand how it's going to affect the person's life as a whole. Important people might get affected by you having your desired outcome. What important things might change in your life that you might not want to have change? Who's it going to be the hardest on when you have what it is that you want? You know, these are factors that influence whether or not we reach for our desires.
You know, if you were just a person, for example, and you've heard of NLP, just like you hear about different things, and you might be interested in incorporating that in your life, and you're interested in looking for a practitioner, you know, what would be some of the tips that you would give them to ask, you know, the difference? Would you say, do you practice conventional NLP or do you do transformational? Like, is there some kind of, like in feng shui, do you do traditional Chinese
classical
feng shui?
Yeah, exactly.
Or do you do Western feng shui?
Well, I think the first step is educating people about the differences. Because I myself, when I came and met you, I didn't know like Western feng shui was, I didn't even know it was called Western feng shui. I thought feng shui was feng shui, right? And then I came to you and I was like, oh my God, classical Chinese feng shui is way different than Western feng shui. So I say it's really about experiencing different practitioners and seeing what aligns with you as an individual. Some people like different things. Some people like Western feng shui. Some people like classical Chinese feng shui. Some people like going to traditional therapy, whereas I personally like doing the transformational NLP. It's what aligned with me. It's where I got the fastest results. And I love life because of this work. I love myself. I have more rapport with myself, you know, and my experience, and like the people I'm attracting, friends and partners. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yes, that's fantastic. It's been such a joy to watch you, and, you know, as you were in search of, and you're in your journey, and to watch you shine and to blossom. And
thank you.
And then now, of course, to create a business, and you are now in the business of consulting and working with people. And I'll help you articulate exactly what you're doing. And it's really talking about love life, relationships. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the work that I do is really transformational work. It's getting someone from where they are to where they want to be. And I use, you know, transformational neurolinguistic programming, and like you said earlier, systemic family constellation work. And that's the type of work that looks at ancestral entanglements that we get into. And specifically, I'm working with people's love lives, you know, helping them either get out there and start dating. You know, some people just don't date. Like there are unconscious things that are happening in their brain that causes them not to reach for love. So the whole, and then like there are people who keep dating the wrong type of people over and over again. Not that people are wrong, but they just want something, they want to have a different experience in love. Yeah. And then I've even like, you know, there's all these different aspects, and it's even like working with people and how they communicate to their partner. So it's all the things that I work on are catered towards helping people find what it is that they would like in love, because everyone deserves love.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's really working on love for self too. Like, because when we really truly love ourselves and fall in love with ourselves, then we're able to find somebody who's able to do the same. It's really when we don't honor and value ourselves, and this is happening at a subconscious level, of course, that we tend to attract partners that are mirrors to us. They reflect back to us in the ways in which we are not loving ourselves. And so what I say to people is, as we do this work together, as we do an NLP session, go out, see what your experience is like, and then bring it back so we can start to like build upon the shifts that are taking place.
Yeah. You know, this is very interesting because even when we talk about, you know, BaZi, looking at people's Chinese birth charts, a lot of people come and ask things like, when am I going to meet my love? When am I going to have a windfall of money? When can I have the career that I always dream of, right? And from a BaZi perspective, you can see when a person is in a good luck cycle, right? So good luck cycle means they do have that windfall of good luck, where yes, those job opportunities are coming in, and yes, they are meeting and connecting with people, and yes, they have opportunities to make money. But a lot of times I have noticed that people's ability to exceed past their self limitations is because they're not really consciously aware of their old patterns. And so they're not able to fully embrace or fully immerse themselves in this good luck cycle. And so I'll give you an example. The other day I had a woman, and she is definitely in her peach blossom, in her man, it shows, but she has a pattern of attracting unavailable men. So even though the luck cycle comes and it gives you the opportunity, but your actions, you're still attracting the same types of experiences. And so I have referred her to you. We'll see if she reaches out. So yeah. So yeah, anything else you'd like to add with NLP? We'll talk about family constellations at a different time because that's also really super cool. Anything else that you'd like to share about NLP?
The thing that I want to share is the great thing about this is you don't have to think to be different. It just is automatically programmed in your brain, and you start to attract these experiences over and over again without having to sit there and be like, I love and honor myself. I love and honor myself. I love and honor myself, without having to say mantras all the time, without having to put like listening to subliminal audio tapes while you're sleeping. You don't have to think to be different. You just do a session and then life is just different.
How interesting.
Yeah.
I think we all could use a little bit of transformational NLP for
it's
sure.
Amazing.
For anything.
Yeah. And I've had people get like a lot of changes just after one session, you know? And so it's
obviously
totally...
would those be more like less of a, I guess, less heavier stuff?
Yeah. Some people have like, you know, and here's the thing, like a child when they're little, when we start to take on, we collect what's called we have these imprints, these traumatic experiences that happen to us. And really I'm looking between the ages of like, even being in the womb, you can have traumatic incidents that happen to the little one, up into the age of like 5 or 6. So I'm really looking in that area within the brain of what happened to them at that point in time, because little kids they want to make meaning of it. Oh, mom's angry. If I be quiet and stay still, she won't get angry. So that means that I have to stay out of the way. So what happens with that? And this is just a general example. What happens with that little one when they grow up? They start staying out of the way of everything. Not good for me to be in the spotlight and shine because I will get yelled at, is what the brain is computing. And it might, you know, it's different for everyone, but that's kind of like a general kind of idea of what might be happening. Yeah.
We have a question from someone that says, can this help clients with addiction issues?
You know, I think it can. I definitely think it can. I haven't worked with that specifically, but from what I've gathered, it doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it might take more sessions than one, of course, you know, because at some level, like there's love addiction, right? And it helps with that. You know, if you're addicted to a specific type of love, and sometimes that can be, you know, somebody that's physically abusive, could be somebody who's emotionally abusive. So that is an addiction in and of itself. So I think it definitely could help with addiction.
Yeah. And if people were more interested in learning stuff, I'm going to put your information up here so that people can have access to you, and obviously some resources. And Jessica also does YouTube videos on her YouTube channel. What is the name of the YouTube channel, Jess?
Oh, it's just my name, Jessica Dufour.
Okay, Jessica Dufour, and you post a lot of stuff on there and you have a lot of resources, and obviously you can get in touch with her to learn more about NLP. I just think it's such a big subject. It's like one of those things where it's so deep and complicated. And again, going back to what I said, it's about the brain. I mean, psychology, you know, family upbringing, history, genetics, environmental influences, all of these things play an important role in terms of how it molds us as human beings and how we react and show up into our experiences. So thank you so much, Jessica, for just, you know, teaching us a little bit something new and something different today. In the spirit of the gratitude series, I'm going to ask you, you know, what are you grateful for right now?
I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for being able to get outside and ground my feet in nature. And I'm grateful for my fantastic boyfriend.
Oh, yay!
He's amazing.
I love it. Well, shout out to the great boyfriend. So he is a lucky one too. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope to catch you again next week. Jessica is at jessicadufournlp.com, and stay tuned and have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.